You are listening to Independent Woman with Wine. I am your host, Ellie. So let's pour a glass, relax, and let's dive into the stories that lift us up and empower and make us laugh. Let's begin, shall we? Welcome to Independent Woman with Wine. Today we have our first man. I am so pumped to have this guy here. He is related to somebody very close to me, somebody that I love very much. So I couldn't be more happy to have him here with us. Uh, Polly Papers is a Somerville born artist, born in Somerville, Massachusetts. He turned his pain into a purpose, growing up surrounded by instability, depression, survival. Music became his lifeline, the one place he found a clarity, healing, and direction. His debut project started from nothing. Isn't it just a title? It's his truth. Today, Paul uses his voice to uplift his community, shine light on local talent, and inspire anyone who feels like it's too late to chase their dreams. His story proves that struggle doesn't define your future, or your comeback does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Polly, thank you so much. How
No,
are
thank
you?
you. Thank you for having me on here. I'm super excited to be on here as well and, share a little background on me and,
Mm-hmm.
get to chop it up with you as well.
Awesome.
I love that I'm here.
Uh-huh. So I already know a little bit of your story and everything. How would you introduce yourself to someone who never met you and never heard of you and doesn't know anything about you or your music or your story?
Yeah. So I'm very simple. This is pretty much how I introduce everybody. I introduce myself to everybody is I'm just Polly. Nice to meet you. I'm just a regular person who's been through things just like anybody else. I just found my little niche, which is music, and I put my pain, my story, my words on the track, and I leave it there. And whether it connects with one or it connects with a million, that's what I'm here to do.
That's awesome. That's great. I always say, we do these things, we put ourselves out there, and we only hope that we helps one person, right? Just one.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So growing up, your parents got divorced you were very young. How old were you again?
I was 7 years old, I believe.
Mm-hmm. What
hmm
role did the music act play in your life growing up?
I found joy in it very early on in my life. Uh, I have to give big credits to my music teacher in my elementary school. But he was the one that really opened my eyes that anybody can play an instrument, anybody can do music.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one that gave me that gift. I started playing the violin, um, and then I started playing the trombone because he used to pull out a saxophone pretty much every class, and I would fall in love with that thing. And I was like, I want to play that, but I didn't know what that was. So one day I had a dream, and I came into class, and I was like, I had a dream. I want to play this instrument. I don't know what it is, but maybe you know what it is. But it's like this big metal thing, and it's got buttons, and you can do this with it. And but I don't know what that is. And he goes, that's a trombone. The vision I had was not the trombone, but it's fine. That's what I learned to play growing up. I wasn't able to express myself at home. I wasn't able to practice. I wasn't able to, perfect that craft because I was seen as an annoyance at home. I pretty much had to do it at school at the moment that we're doing it. So I learned to play by ear. I never learned how to read music or, read notes, any of that. So everything that I do is by ear. And as I've gotten older, I've said that I want to go back and learn, how to read music, but I've gone this far without doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm I've got an ear for it, so I'm just gonna push it with the air and until I go deaf, I guess. Then I'll have to learn how to read music, but
Right?
till then, we're gonna keep pushing.
You have one sister, correct?
Yeah, yeah, I have a sister. Her name
What
is
was
Stephanie.
childhood like for you and her growing up?
And it was very confusing. Being told that we couldn't see one of our parents. Definitely, there was some divide there in our relationship, um, both with our mom and our dad.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know who was to blame. There was really no ownership except for finger pointing growing up. So, we're just kids listening to the adults and, looking at whatever direction they're pointing at. And that's probably the saddest part is rather than taking accountability and just saying, hey, listen, we don't love each other or whatever. Uh, Instead of doing that, the finger pointing is a very dangerous game. Yeah, it was very confusing. It was very hostile environment after my parents got divorced, but you wouldn't think that from the outside looking in because there was a lot of good acting happening on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
and us being kids, we were just kids. There's we just thought this was how life went,
Mm-hmm.
even though it seemed a little odd. That we just thought that's how it was, and
Mm-hmm.
we were very confused to see that none of our friends were going through this stuff. Because this was like pretty much on the onset of where you know a lot of family separation started happening. Because before that, you married somebody, you stay with that person, you make it work,
Yeah.
and this was like the age where you started seeing a lot of families getting ripped apart and a lot of injustice was done to the kids. And now you're seeing it with people my age, if not younger, if not older, dealing with the consequences of those things not being taken care of correctly or in the right manner for the kids' sake or for their sake or their own well-being sake or financial whatever, you know. But yeah, it was definitely a very confusing time growing up with my sister.
So you knew something was not
Yeah,
right, even as a little kid, right?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I can
Um,
I can I can see it and I can hear it, and I just couldn't put my finger on it.
mhm. So growing up, you knew something wasn't right. But do you feel that as a young kid you knew what you needed or you didn't know? You just knew something wasn't right, but you didn't know what it was.
I knew something wasn't right, and I didn't necessarily know what I needed or what I was missing. Um, but I did know one thing. I just wanted to have both my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that was just have a relationship with my dad and just have a relationship with my mom and have those separated.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have both. And, you know, growing up, I was a, big daddy's boy. Always wanted to be around my dad. Always wanted to go to work with my dad, spend time with my dad, talk to my dad. Um, and to have that taken away from me and to be given the explanation that he doesn't love you, he doesn't care for you, he's
Mm-hmm.
moved on, and to find out years and years later that was not the case,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it messes with you.
Oh yeah. So when your father passed away in 2022, you learned something major, right?
Hmm. Yeah, very
You
major,
discovery, you had some discovery that shift the way you saw your childhood, correct? Can you
big
talk
time.
about that?
Yeah. So, like I was saying, growing up, the separation and the reasoning behind why my dad and wasn't around or didn't want to see us. There was a lot of finger pointing, but it was a lot of hate driven finger pointing. It was done with intention because I think my mom wanted to drive that divide so that we would only look to her as our savior and not try to be like, dad, 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 because she was getting sick of that. And I can, looking back, I can see it. I can feel it putting myself back in, times where I'd be like, can I call him? Can I call him? He's not going to pick up. Well, why? But I got to find out why, because unfortunately, on my dad's deathbed, he wanted to, clear the air and give his truth because he wasn't able to for all these years. And he had saved all the documentation for every court case, every any type of communication that was done legally or by my mom or somebody that represented my mom. And I got to go through all those papers. And not only did I get to go through all that paperwork, but I also got the explanation from my dad. The only thing I didn't get from all that was my mom's side because she doesn't feel like she needs to explain herself, which is the wildest thing to me, the wildest thing to my sister, the wildest thing to the rest of my family that knows all these details because there's some a lot of pettiness that went down in those court documents, which is bound to happen in family court cases,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of it was for pennies, pennies. And so in a lot of my music, I think you had the vision of being rich. Are you rich now? Was it worth it? Because I don't see anything. I don't see any rewards that you reaped from that besides driving wedges in between your family, continuing to drive wedges into your family, and you're not living a very happy life. And I can see that. And so, you know, would I like her explanation? Sure. Is it worth it? No, because I already see it. I can read it. I can her answers, her not answers, her the way that she's been carrying herself since then speaks volumes,
Mm-hmm.
volumes. And it's sad, The reason why my dad couldn't pick up our calls is because she had an order against him that he could have to deal with jail time or legal actions if he were to contact us or come near us. So she knew what she was doing by saying, "Yeah, you can try to call him. Go ahead."
She knew he wouldn't pick up.
Yeah, she knew, and my dad was fighting for us like as much as he could for a man that came to this country with nothing, didn't know a lick of English, that had to learn the language of the land, and he worked tirelessly to the day that he died. That was like his only time off was dying, and that's the saddest part. And all he wanted was time with his kids, and those last moments that I got with him, which might seem like a long time for some people, but I had to rekindle that relationship where I hated him
Mm-hmm.
my whole life in like 3 months. And in that time where I thought he wasn't watching or wasn't caring, he showed me he was. And he had pictures from my aunts, my aunt Gabby, Sonia, and so on. And they were reporting back and taking pictures. They had the little disposable cameras, taking as many pictures as possible. And he gave that to us, you know. And to see that really messed me up.
What kind of relationship do you have with your mom now, if you have any?
None,
None.
none. Um,
So this totally changed. Did when you found all of this out,
we
it
we
changed you.
already we already had like a iffy relationship before. It was a hot and cold relationship because you can't change crazy. And once you get to see, her true colors, you can't change that. And so we were already like kind of hot and cold, up to that. But we were on good terms. When she reached out and told me that, hey, listen, this is happening. You're definitely gonna want to go see your dad. You know, make it count. This might be the last moments you get with him. And to look back and hear that, come out of my mouth and read the messages or, relive the phone call that she made. I don't even remember how she reached out, to be honest, but it put such a bad taste in my mouth because I don't think she had any idea that that man was going to speak the way he did because he let it all out. He let it all out. And all I wanted her to do was pick the phone call and talk to me. Can you explain some of this, please? So, as an adult, I can understand. You don't need to explain why you did everything that you did. I get it. You got to do what you got to do. I've had to do what I've had to do to make it to this point in my life, whether it be good or bad. Um, but something, something,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and so that's why, whether she tells me her truth or not, I'm good. I'm good. You know.
Looking back, what do you wish that would have been different for you and your sister?
My mom's favorite word: honesty, truthfulness, the truth, no lying. I wish that could have been different because those are things that were nailed into our heads. You know, we're liars and, all these things, but little did we know we were living with the biggest of them.
When did you discover hip hop? And how did that become an outlet for you, if it did, which I'm guessing it
Honest,
did?
honestly, I didn't even get introduced to hip hop until very late into my life because that was something my mom did not condone in the house, was
Mhm.
hip hop or, you know, bad language or profanity. Um, so it wasn't until I got access to like LimeWire, which was a huge thing back in the day. Some of these kids might have no idea what I'm talking about, but yeah, it wasn't until then that I started actually listening to all different types of music, and hip hop definitely stuck with me. I loved how it made me feel. It it was somewhere I used to escape
Mhm.
often, very often too. You would just see me trapped upon that computer, downloading all types of viruses, so I could have the best song
Mhm.
to listen to on my MP3 player because I didn't have no iPods or
Oh yeah,
iPhones or Apples any time in my life.
I remember
Um,
those time.
yeah, and so yeah, it wasn't until honestly my biggest escape in hip hop was listening to Mac Miller because I could relate to him. Um, I started watching him on YouTube and seeing him rapping at the lunch table and stuff. And I was like, man, this kid's my age. Like, this is so cool. I could never do this. Like, this is crazy. I don't even know how to speak English half of the time. Like, but that was my outlet. And I spent a lot of nights alone just listening to Mac and, you know,
Mhm.
whether being, depressed and crying or, mad, angry, happy, all the emotions. I used to sit there and feel with that man. And that's one guy that I wish that I was, able to work with, but unfortunately he's no longer with us.
Yeah.
Uh, but he's definitely one of my heroes because I don't think I would have made it this long, especially living in the house that I lived in. So,
Do you write all of your songs?
a lot of my music I do write. My creation process is a little bit different than most. a lot of the times I will, you know, find a beat, whether I make it or I find it on YouTube. Recently, I've been making a lot of my beats, so that's what I've been running with. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll listen to the beat probably over 100 to 200 times, and the words will come to me, and I'll hear the hook somewhere in there, and
Mm-hmm.
then usually I run with the hook, and then after my hook, or the chorus, I'll start freestyling my verses, and usually I'll spin off of that. If I'm in the mood, I could freestyle a whole song and then, go back and write it down later. Or I'll freestyle a part and then I'm like, ooh, I like that. Let's go with that. And then I'll take that and I'll start writing based off of that
Mm-hmm.
and, take a spin to it. But yeah, I write all my own music. Um, Up until recently, I started, working with other artists, but I've been pretty much doing this by myself.
The songs that you write, do you write about your life, the things that you went through? Does that
Mhm.
help you on this healing path that you
Yeah,
are?
you'd be surprised what music can do for you. Even if you're not a musician, even if you don't think that you can rap or sing, you get in that booth and you start saying something on some type of beat and you hear yourself after, oh man, that'll launch you into a different galaxy of feelings because that's what happened to me and that's how I started this journey is I booked 1 hour studio session at Phoenix Down, which is one of the best recording studios you're gonna find in Massachusetts. Shout out to them for real.
Mm-hmm.
But I went in there and I had written a song, in my car. I was homeless at the time, living in my car, um, and so I started finding beats on YouTube, and I found this one beat, and I started writing to the song, and I was like, I want to take this to the studio. Took it to the studio, recorded it. Was like, man, I sound awful. But then I came into the other room um, to hear what I had just done, and I was sitting there like, that came out of me. That was me. You did that to me. And then I was just sitting there crying for the whole rest of the hour, like, I can't believe I just did this. And it really lit a fire inside of me that I've never felt before in my life. And it's been put out a couple times, but you can't put this fire out for real. Like it's a huge release. Like the biggest weight off your shoulders when you could put what you're feeling or how you felt. Like I'm all over the spectrum. I dip in the past, I dip into the present, future. You know, I'm about manifesting the things that I want. So that's what you'll hear a lot of. No, I'm not hopping off a private jet right now, but I will be. Yeah. You'd be so surprised what music can do for you, and it's the most amazing outlet I've ever found. Better than any drug I've ever put into my system, better than any drink I've put into my system, any food I've put into my system. I will and have gone without those things just for music. Running just based off music. I've done it. I've sacrificed meals so that I can be able to go and record in the studio. And it's worth it when you feel that feeling. To other people, they're like, "Boy, are you crazy? You got to eat something." I'm like, I am eating these beats. Like, it's fine.
And it's a natural drug, huh?
Yeah, it's a natural drug, and the high, whether it's recording in the studio or performing on stage, I've I can't explain the feeling you get from it besides telling you you got to go and do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's going and doing public speaking or saying a poem or just getting up there and saying what's up, my name is, the feeling you get when it pays off. It might not even have been the best thing you ever did, but to see yourself step out of your bubble and push yourself to that limit, is such a rewarding feeling.
Mhm. Did losing your dad put you in a different path in your musical career?
For sure. My dad, he only came to one of my shows, but it was my first show, and he was right there the whole time. He's not one to go out to the bar or drink or be out like that unless it's a Portuguese feast. I messaged him or told him I was doing music or what I was doing with music. He would keep on telling me to keep going, and nothing wanted to make me stop more than by losing him. And then I remember what he would tell me, and so that fueled with a few other things have lightened up. Like this is not gasoline. This is not rubbing alcohol on fire. This is straight jet fuel on fire. Like you cannot put this out. You cannot put this out. And I don't even know if you can put that out, but it is what it is. There's a flame inside of me that nobody can put out. It doesn't matter what they have to say about me, what they've said about me, what they think about me, what they've thought about me. I am who I am, and I can't change that. But I can't change where I'm going.
Okay. Well, clearly, music has a therapeutic
Yeah,
vibes for you. Besides that, do you do anything else to help you on your healing path?
I don't go to therapy. I have back when I was younger, but my other therapeutic like outlets, you can say would be writing, just like journaling or writing down my thoughts if I have any, writing music and making music.
Mhm.
Also, another big outlet of mine is, I'm a live streamer as well. So I love connecting with my people and hearing about their day and, you know, let them, vent some of their frustrations or, just kind of chill out and, listen to some music being made because that's usually what's going on in my streams. Um, but it is a huge outlet for me as well outside of music because it gives me a place where I can go and have, more of like a safe space and rather than doing it around everybody that knows you
Mhm.
on your like social media platforms, you're doing it on a platform where nobody knows you. It's crazy the amount of support that I've gotten from people that don't even know me or has never seen me live or don't know who I actually am or how I actually am in person to have their support before people here is a wicked feeling, but it's okay. They'll come around.
Yeah. How has your past influenced the way um, you are today as a professional, as an artist, as a person?
Mhm.
Does that play a part on your personal relationships?
I would say so. I don't take anything for granted. You know, I have a very kind of careless attitude, I guess you can say, about me. But once you get to know me, you'll realize that I don't take anything for granted. I I'm a very humble person, and I just like living in the moment. And younger me was just about keeping up with the times and keeping up with his friends and making his friends happy. And I've learned to prioritize myself. And you know, at the end of the day, the only person that I have is me.
Mm.
I have family that's left me. I've had friends that left me. I've had, you name it. And I've only been left with me, myself, and I at the end of the day, and a few others that I know have my back. But usually in your darkest moments, the only person you have is yourself.
When you said me, myself, and I, that is the most true thing we can ever say for
Mhm.
everyone.
Yeah,
Everyone. Doesn't matter who you are. We're all alone.
exactly.
I mean, we have people in our lives that, yeah, some of them might be there. They might show up on the harder times. But at the end of the day, you only have yourself to count on. Do you feel protective over the younger generation in your family because of the stuff that you went through.
Very much so. I'm a guardian to everyone that knows me. I will I will catch a bullet for you, even if we just met yesterday. If I consider you my friend, I I hold that word very near to my heart. You're just as close as family if I consider you my friend. Um, so yeah, I'm very protective, especially of the young ones in my family, because I don't want to see them go through the same stuff that I had to go through. And some of that, you can't help. You can't help some of the things that happen in life. But what I could do is, be a positive role model. And my biggest quote is, "I did it so you didn't have to." Learn from my mistakes. I'm a good kid. I've never been to jail. I don't have a record. I could have went down a completely different road, and my whole life I've been painted as such. You would think I'm a felon. You would think I'm still in jail. You would think I'm a drug addict. You would think that I've been to rehab 10,000 times. I've never done any of that besides mind my own damn business and just keep pushing with what life is throwing at me.
Mhm.
I try to ignore all the noise on the outside because that stuff will only distract you from what you're here to do.
So you write your music on your own and you sing. Is there any song that you wrote that you hold special to your heart?
Yes, I'm very biased. I could say that about all my songs.
But is there like
But
that
there,
one, that when you sing, you're on stage, that you're putting on a show, and then you sing that song, and it takes you back.
yeah, for sure. One of my favorite songs to perform. Honestly, I love doing it. I can put on a hell of a show. You got to come watch me sometime. But it's called "Say No to Drugs." This song is about um, it's kind of just outlining like some of the stereotypes that go along with being a pothead
Mhm.
or liking, some of the devil's lettuce, as they say, or cannabis, whatever word you want to put to it. I'm speaking directly to my mom in this one because she grew up telling me, say no to drugs, don't do this, don't do that. I had my own curiosity growing up. I was watching not some of the best influencers growing up.
Mhm.
I wanted to be one of the jackasses. I literally wanted to be there with Steve-O and Bam Margera, and I wanted to be one of them. So I was learning some crazy things. I've also been an adult and have made some poor decisions in my life, but those are learning experiences as I see them. And it was learning experiences in the sense that I did it. I tried it. It's not my thing. It might have been my thing for a while, but it's not my thing anymore. And I saw that that stuff is not important and that stuff is not going to keep me here.
Mhm.
You know, I did not see myself going very far in life. I told my mom that, I had a vision as a kid that I was going to pass at 18. And I told that to my mom, and she just looked at me like, you're crazy. So my whole life, I just looked at that day, oh, I'm going to turn 18. This is happening. And so looking back on that, I lived every day like it was my last. But then growing up, I completely, destroyed my life. Not destroyed my life, but because I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I was just living my life as a young kid, as everybody else out there, did young growing up, whether it was getting into the things I was getting into or having your own fun. But I got, once I started seeing people lose the battle around me, it started putting it into reality that this shit is not a game. We don't get second chances. You might, but it doesn't mean you will. I've been put in a few situations in my life where could have been the case for me, but I didn't let that be the case for me. And God didn't let that be the case for me, or my guardian angels didn't let that shit, be the case for me. This song, um, pretty much is just like a slap back, you know, at like, you said all these things about me. You called me a drug addict. You spread all these rumors about me, but I'm just out here smoking weed. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm still living my life. I'm still here and I'm doing my thing and I'm going to be successful in it. And I don't think I'm going to be successful in it, even through, my own personal life and professional life. I've held positions and I've had jobs that people dream about. And so whether music is the thing for me or whether it's just me taking it on the chin and walking through life every day, I consider this a win. If I can go on the ground tomorrow, I'll be happy with my life.
Muddy Waters is one of the tracks in one of your albums, right? Uh,
Yes.
that seems to have a sense of being in a deep water or turmoil. Can you walk us through what inspired that track and how it reflects your journey?
Yeah. So that song Muddy Waters, that was really that was a song that was the first song I created after my dad passed away. I created this after I had gone through the binder, gone through all the legal documents and seen all the pictures and gone to like sit down with this information I had. And so this was my shout out to my mom. This song was solely for my mom. I was talking to my mom. That was a very like twisted time in my life. I was in a pretty terrible relationship at the time. It started getting terrible right around then. Um, I want to say it was always terrible, but there's a lot that went into making that track, and but mostly it was losing my dad and getting the information that I got and sitting with it. I'd have to go back and like look at when I started recording it, but I don't think it was that long after. So I hadn't even sat with the information for that long.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, when your dad was about to pass away, he gave you that binder. Did
Hmm.
you get the chance to go through the binder while he was still alive, or he just handed to you and passed, and then after he passed, that's when you went through the
He
binder?
did. So he gave it to me when he was still alive. He wasn't doing well, but he was doing better. And I was able to sit down and ask him about some of the things in there, like what are these, like what am I looking at? Because I don't know if you ever seen legal documents, but it's a whole bunch of words and not a lot to get to the point.
They don't make
So
it easy for you to
they
understand.
don't make it easy for you. They tell you you're gonna have to read through this one. So there's a lot of reading that went into it, but the underlying word I'm left with that I'm thinking of right now is diabolical, because this whole thing was diabolical. Because I wish that I could say this was like the last time that she did some shit like this, but it wasn't. But to read and see the playbook of what was happening in my own life, that was happening in my younger version, my younger self's life, and to see how mimicked it was and is mind blowing, to say the least. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think my mom wants to answer anything because I think she has a lot to do with what's going on and what's been going on in my life, um, and continues to play a part in those things and will until she's either cut off or other things happen. But I wish her nothing but the best. I just hope that she just leaves me, my sister, and the people I care about alone.
The track Struggle, when you wrote that, were
Hmm.
you carrying a lot emotionally? Do you feel like you were struggling when you wrote Struggle?
Honestly, yeah. My first song was called Far From Home, but that was like my first written song. The Struggle was actually my first freestyle that I ever recorded for myself, but I liked it, and the people that I would show it to were like, "Oh, I like that." And so I ended up going to the studio and re-record it, and I had to change a lot because obviously I couldn't replicate exactly what I did the first time, but I talk about a lot of things in there where, I'm already manifesting, from the beginning, I was already manifesting that we're not going to be struggling forever. Like, yes, I've struggled. I will continue to struggle right now, but we're going on to bigger, better things. And whether it's from this or just from life decisions or, you know, networking, whatever, things are about to change. And, 6 years later, I can say for sure things are about to change for sure.
Is there a song that you wrote uh that now when you either sing or hear, does it hit you differently?
Yeah, for sure. My first song, it's hit me different since day one, but still hit. Oh man, it hits different with age. It's like fine wine. It's better with age. I've been told that that song in particular is timeless, and only really a few people know where to go find it because I wasn't able to release it. It is something that I'm working on trying to release right now. We're trying to work through it right now. So to be able to actually release that song is gonna hit even more different than recording it and hearing it now. And I performed it not that long ago, um, for open mic, I believe, and it's it just hits different. It's talking about being homeless, living in my car, um, having to move my car from street to street just so I can find somewhere new to sleep. It's definitely a pain song. Like it talks about my pain. It talks about, not really having anybody or feeling like I didn't have anybody. And then, you can only imagine that group with not having like a family base that I could just go and be like, love me and take me in. And, it was definitely a hard time, writing that song and, you know, making that song to see how far I've come since then. It is definitely a touching song, to
Can,
say the least.
can you say the name of the song?
Yeah, it's called Far From Home.
If your dad could hear you today, what would you think he would be proud of?
He would be proud of me still going and continuing going. And I think he'd be happy to see the doors that are opening for me right now. He's not a man of many words, like he's a very quiet person. But I think he would be like beside himself. And I think he is. I think, he has a part to do with why these things are opening for me.
What is the one thing that people always get wrong about you?
That I'm an asshole. uh, I
You,
always walk around with a very serious look on my face unless I'm already smiling. Um,
you seem like a very nice young man.
yeah, no, I am, but like I move with I move with intention. So like a lot of people they see me outside, I'm they don't consider me a very approachable person unless I'm behind the desk at work and then they're like, "Can you help me with this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Yeah, I think that's that I'm a very nice person. I'm a vibe, I think. That's what most people will say about me. Um,
I know you're a nice person. You're Gabby's nephew, so I'm sure
yeah,
I'm from
no,
Gabby.
yeah, exactly. No, I love, oh man, I love that lady. I love you, Gabby. Thank you.
That's not gonna be in my podcast, but guess what? We just talked about her, so she's in it.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. So, my podcast is about, we're always talking, the people that I interview, we're talking about people who they've been through stuff. They've been through trauma. There's only a couple interviews that I did that we didn't dive into those people's lives. They were more like about other things. But anyways, so everybody comes here. We talk about, oh, I've been through this, I've been through that, and this is how I came out, blah, blah, blah. It's resilient. The word
Yeah.
resilient, you know. I think that everybody that come on this podcast, not just on this one, because there are so many other podcasts out
Yeah.
there, people are sharing their story and everything. And the word that will always uh, um, that always comes up is resilience. What does that mean to you?
That's a good question. That is a good question. Resilience to me is, I mean, I don't even know if this is correct, but we'll see when we get there. But
But to you, you know?
yeah, to me, it's like not folding under pressure, no matter what kind of pressure that might be, whether it's life, and finances, the financial struggles, work struggles, health struggles, and not letting that stuff get to you mentally, and always having some, you know, you gotta pair every negative with a positive. You kind of have to look at the brighter picture, regardless of what's going on. And sometimes that's easier said than done. But I'm definitely that type of person where I'm always looking at the glass is half full rather than empty.
Yes.
I try to give everybody a little bit of positivity. Whether it's just me smiling, I try not to walk around with a mean mug look, but I'm just here to uplift people. And I think, if you're able to wake up every day, get something done, whether it's go to work or do some errands around the house or chores, you are resilient, and you made it. Like, you did your thing, and that's a successful day. That's also what I sound like on the microphone whenever I mess up my English.
One last question for you.
Yeah.
What message, if you could talk to your youngest self, look back when you were 7, 8, 9, 10. If you could talk to that little boy back then, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to, keep his blinders on and keep his head up because he's going somewhere. Because I think as a kid, I was worried about everybody else. I was the older brother, so I had to be the man of the house, and I took that role very responsibly, or very seriously, not responsibly.
Also, it's not an easy thing. Like, it's not
Yeah,
that I had a bad childhood, you know.
yeah,
I have my traumas. Because
yeah. No, exactly,
I could tell myself back then, just hold on, things
yeah,
gonna get better, you know.
exactly.
It's hard.
And that's a good point too.
Hmm.
My whole childhood was not a horror that I painted to be. I did have good times. Me and my sister had good times. There were happy moments, but you wouldn't think so, because as adults, as humans, we tend to tread on those bad, negative moments, and that seems to consume all the good too. Do I hate my mom? No. She had to do what she had to do. Do I agree with it? No. But we're all humans. We all make mistakes. And at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do, and you got to take life one step at a time. That's all. My mom raised me better. She did a good job. I just wish that some things were different, you know.
Yeah,
And this isn't a knock on her, but it's time to cut the shit.
yeah.
Is what this is.
Is there a legacy, and what kind do you hope to create through your music and your story?
I hope to create a legacy. One, my name can be remembered forever. And not only that, my story and the message that I carry. Like, I talk to a lot of people. I try to network a lot. So I'm constantly trying to motivate people to find what music did for me for them, and try to get out there. Um, because I just want to motivate and uplift and bring some healing to people, because that's what I needed for a long time. I just didn't know it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I walked around with a shell on me, and I was hurting, but you wouldn't even tell because I was emotionless. I didn't have any emotions. This music, this art has gotten me to catapult myself out of that. And do I feel, some sad feelings with music sometimes? Yeah. But I try to make it a positive experience every time, regardless of what I'm actually talking about, on my music. So that's what I hope to spread with this. My music is, positivity, healing, uplifting, motivating, and, showing anybody and everyone that this is possible. You just got to put your mind to it, and you got to stop talking about it, and you got to just do it. Because how else are you to know unless you do it?
You're so young, but you already came such a long way, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you sent me your upcoming shows. You're very, very, very busy, which is great,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But what do you have coming up? What's the on the next chapter for Poly Papers?
A lot of big things, but I've got a lot of music coming. I'm constantly in the studio recording, constantly here at the home studio recording, making beats, just perfecting the craft, honestly, and trying to push myself as far as possible. Not over the edge, but if I get there, I get there. It is what it is. But um, I want to see what I'm capable of. And just these last 3 months, I have pushed myself to limits that I never even thought were possible. And I have, a little team behind me that are there pushing me, telling me to keep doing it, to keep going. And it's actually somebody that was actually one of my best friends that was kind of my escape when I was living at the address where my parents got divorced. And we got separated over 20 years and we rekindled our friendship. He's doing music, I'm doing music. I don't
Great.
believe in coincidences. So we have, something working over there as well. Can't
Mm,
really talk too much about it, but
okay.
it's going to be explosive for Massachusetts, and I think for just music in general, because the sounds that we have coming, not just me and him. This is a kind of a group effort, if you get what I'm saying. But I really look forward to what 2026 has to offer. But outside of that, for myself, because that, me, myself, and I, at the end of the day, a lot of big, big things are happening. You got my album that I'm working on called The Portuguese Crash Out. That'll be coming out in 2026. Date to be determined, but it's coming. Honestly, I'm here for the ride, and I'm here to enjoy every second of it because I'm working for it.
That's
And
great.
I've dreamed of this for a long time, and to see some of the things that are happening and that have happened just these past, like I said, 3 months is, I don't know what it is, but I don't know what happened. I don't know what water I drank, what I touched, but it's been a beautiful close out to this year. And, with that, 2026 is going to be amazing. Stay tuned. You can find my music on all platforms already. December, I have 10 songs. For December, I have 10 songs slated to be dropped.
Uh-huh.
So that's leading right up into the new year. And then I'm hitting 2026 with a song that I've held close and dear to my heart for a long time. And it's called The Way Out. And we're speaking that into existence, 2026.
That is great. How can people find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms. You can Poly Papers, whether it's through Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, you name it, you can find me there.
That is great. That's awesome. Polly, thank you so much.
No,
Oh
thank
my
you
gosh, I
for
am honored to have you as my first male guest.
yes,
That
yeah, thank you.
hopefully that will open up for, others because
Yeah,
it's people. I know it's independent woman with wine, but it's me.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. But
Don't worry.
I'm honored for this to be my first podcast, and
This is your first podcast?
this is my first podcast.
That
So,
is awesome.
and there'll be many, many more, I'm sure. But
Yes,
you
yes.
know,
And just like you, I am very, very hopeful for good things for 2026.
hmm
And but thank you so much.
you're
Uh,
welcome.
and we'll see you around. You're gonna hit
Yeah,
big,
yeah, check me
Everybody's
out,
gonna
guys.
hear from you, I'm sure. I
Yeah.
listen to your music and it's really, really good. I was impressed. I was really, really impressed. That was
Oh,
really.
thank you. That means a lot for real. Thank you.
But all right, thank you so much for doing
Yes, thank
this.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.